A beauty salon hands out a syringe as casually as a facial treatment. That detail, from a Scroll.in investigation published earlier this month by Tabassum Barnagarwala, captures the cosmetic frenzy surrounding GLP-1 drugs. But treating these injections as unregulated slimming packages obscures what is happening in clinical trials. Writing for Vox just yesterday, Bryan Walsh looks at the medical reality behind the vanity hype. These medications are treating sleep apnea and kidney disease, doing far more than altering a waistline. What emerges from these two pieces is a strange friction. It is worth pausing on the gap between how a culture turns a medication into a beauty product and the life-saving work that drug performs inside the body. Powerful weight loss drugs are quietly slipping out of doctors' offices and into Indian beauty salons and online pharmacies. In an investigation published last week, Tabassum Barnagarwala tracks how these GLP-1 injections are being dangerously dispensed as unregulated slimming packages. Listen for the moment a woman realizes she paid 1.5 lakhs at a Ludhiana salon that never actually assessed her health. It exposes exactly what happens when a medical breakthrough becomes a cosmetic commodity.
Saloni Khera, a social media manager in Mumbai, gained 30 kg in just 6 months after the COVID-19 pandemic. A combination of factors were at work. She had long COVID, a condition in which the virus leaves behind a trail of health problems. She was pre-diabetic and also had a hormonal disorder. She weighed 153.5 kg. Her attempts at losing weight through multiple diet regimens, even drinking only water for a week, had failed. If I lost 15 kg, I gained 25 kg back, she said. People with chronic obesity, a lifelong disorder like diabetes or hypertension, can gain weight rapidly, putting pressure on their heart. This can have a cascading effect on their health. Last year, Khera consulted a gynecologist in Ahmedabad as she and her husband began to think about having a child. I wanted to be fit to be able to do it, the 35-year-old told Scroll. The gynecologist referred her to an endocrinologist who advised how to reduce weight first. He suggested she tried a weight loss drug, Mounjaro, an injectable that can help reduce over 20% body weight. Mounjaro is a brand name for a new medicine called tirzepatide, which mimics two natural hormones present in the gut, glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1 and glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide or GIP. The hormones signal to the brain that the stomach is full, release insulin, and slow down digestion. As the drug increases these satiety hormones in the body, a person feels full and eats less. But as effective as they are not meant for everyone and cannot be used without medical advice. According to the Union Health Ministry, only cardiologists, endocrinologists, and internal medicine specialists are authorized to prescribe GLP-1 drugs and monitor patients. Khera did exactly that. She lost 35 kgs in 11 months.
Even then, the treatment was difficult. In the initial months, she suffered multiple side effects, including diarrhea, constipation, and headaches. But for the first time, I realized that this is actually working for me, she said about the drug. She began to read up on high-fiber and high-protein diets as shedding kilos was leading to muscle loss. Last August, she decided to help others and began a support group for GLP-1 users on Instagram. It received an overwhelming response. The community has over 140 members now. She soon realized that many had embarked on a lonely journey of weight loss using these drugs. But more worryingly, many had begun taking the drugs without medical advice. Some had visited a salon and purchased a treatment package of these drugs. Some were students trying to reduce weight on their own without informing their parents. A woman in her group confessed that she paid rupees 1.5 lakh at a beauty salon in Ludhiana for weight loss before realizing that the clinic was not medically assessing her. I advise everyone to do this only under medical supervision, Khera said. I only add a person to the community when I know they are doing this under medical supervision. Scroll's investigation into the market for weight loss drugs bears out Khera's concerns. We uncovered a range of irregularities, from unauthorized doctors prescribing the drugs as part of beauty treatment in salons to online medicine sellers and chemists agreeing to sell the medicines without a prescription. Some salons bundled it under a bridal package as a quick fix for to-be brides who wish to lose weight. Everyone wants a share. About 30% women and 27% men in India are overweight, data from the latest National Family Health Survey shows.
Not surprisingly, the market for GLP-1 drugs in India is booming. According to PharmaRack Technology, the sales of these injectable drugs in India rose from 525 crores in May 2025 to Rs 1906 crores this May. The most popular injection, Mounjaro, manufactured by US-headquartered Eli Lilly, became India's top-selling drug in 2025. This year, multiple Indian brands have flooded the market with such drugs and brought down the prices. The glut in demand has led to the drugs being used without safeguards laid down by the medical establishment. Everybody wants to get into this. The market is huge, said Dr. Saumil Shah, a Mumbai-based plastic surgeon. Last year, Shah partnered with an endocrinologist and dietitian to cater to GLP-1 patients. However, it is being treated as a beauty product rather than a health product, he cautioned. At beauty salons, rules flouted. In Mumbai's eastern suburbs, a salon calling itself India's first hybrid clinic salon offers services ranging from dermatology to beauty and even slimming packages. When we walked into the clinic in May and asked about their weight loss programs, a receptionist led us to a young dermatologist. The dermatologist asked this reporter about her weight and height. Over the next 30 minutes, she proceeded to talk about the benefits of Mounjaro. It is safe. If you have a side effect, it means the drug is actually working, the dermatologist told us. She advised a 3-month course of injections at the cost of Rs 99,000, which would be administered at the salon. For a medical prescription, a Hyderabad-based endocrinologist would write one after a quick online call, she assured us. There were several red flags in the above scenario. First, according to the Union Health Ministry, only cardiologists, endocrinologists, and internal medicine specialists are authorized to prescribe GLP-1 drugs after a clinical assessment. In the clinic, the dermatologist was handling the entire treatment, and an endocrinologist had been onboarded only to write the prescription. Second, the treatment has been bundled into a beauty package, with injections being given only at the clinic along with other supplements. According to the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, those with a body mass index of over 30 with no comorbidity, or those with body mass index of 27 to 30 with other comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension are considered for treatment of tirzepatide or semaglutide drugs. Dr. Dheeraj Kapoor, head of endocrinology department in Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital said, "When we prescribe this medication, we do a comprehensive assessment. We check whether the person has a history of gallstones or thyroid through an ultrasound. In case a patient has either of those conditions, a doctor can choose not to prescribe GLP-1 drugs." Kapoor said they check whether the patient has adiposity-based chronic disease or obesity that harms other organs before proceeding to recommend the drug. Endocrinologist Joshi from Leelavati Hospital added, "A history of stomach disorder is also checked because it can aggravate nausea and vomiting. A family history of cancer or thyroid must also be checked before," he added. The dermatologist in the Mumbai beauty clinic only recommended a blood test and did not ask for such detailed assessments. The clinic also practiced a standard dose regime for all patients: 2.5 milligrams of Mounjaro in the first month, 5 milligram dose in the second month, and 7.5 milligrams in the third month for every person. But endocrinologist Joshi said that GLP-1 drugs cannot be standardized for every patient, and a dose is only increased if the person needs it. The sudden rise in dosage without clinical requirement can cause pancreatitis or gastrointestinal distress or hypoglycemia. Dr. Kapoor agreed. It is not a case of one size fits all. In Delhi, at the branch of a leading beauty and wellness clinic chain, popular in the market for its slimming packages, these precautions were not followed. The clinic put us through a test that analyzed body composition, fat and muscle percentages, along with a BMI. A young employee broke down the results and advised a 3-month plan of Mounjaro, as well as therapies to balance muscle loss. When it came to medical advice, they said we would have to consult with an in-house physician, a general medicine doctor with an MBBS degree, and not an endocrinologist or cardiologist, for a prescription. Both the Delhi and Mumbai clinics were also overcharging their customers. In Delhi, a 3-month package of Mounjaro was Rs 92,000. In Mumbai, the package cost was Rs 99,000 for 3 months. This is 3 times the cost of the drugs. Not everybody is suited for this. When GLP-1 drugs are taken without proper medical monitoring, patients run the risk of serious side effects. The Union Health Ministry has warned that GLP-1 drugs can cause common symptoms like nausea and vomiting to severe complications including pancreatitis, kidney injury, and bowel obstruction. In April, Dr. Kapoor at Kokilaben Hospital attended to a 32-year-old woman with complaints of pancreatitis.
She had undergone a liposuction procedure and also wanted body contouring. An aesthetic clinic she consulted in the western suburbs of Mumbai put her on Mounjaro. In the first month, she took 4 injections of 2.5 mg each. By next month, her dosage was increased to 5 mg and then 7.5 mg, a standard practice across aesthetic clinics. She began to experience severe abdomen pain and nausea. One of the rare side effects of Mounjaro is swelling in the pancreas, the organ that produces insulin and digestive enzymes. She eventually required hospitalization due to pancreatitis. The woman's BMI was 27. She had no other comorbidity. Kapoor said she was not even eligible for Mounjaro. Kapoor said he has been getting patients with intestinal obstruction, pancreatitis, or gallbladder diseases after taking GLP-1 drugs. All these are serious side effects of the medicines, he said. Dr. Jaleel Parkar, a pulmonologist in Mumbai's Leelavati Hospital, treated a man in April with severe effects of GLP-1 drugs. The 46-year-old businessman in Bandra weighed 150 kgs and was in fact eligible to take the GLP-1 drug for weight loss management. After 4 injections of 2.5 mg in the first month, his doctor increased the dosage to 5 mg. I lost 10 kgs in 45 days, he told Scroll. But then I started getting acid attacks, coughing fits, vomiting, muscle pain and constipation, he added. Eventually, he required hospitalization. I told him to stop taking these drugs. Not everybody is suited for it, Parker said. The 46-year-old told Scroll that he has decided to stop these injections. No prescription, no worry. The popularity and high demand have led to chemist shops and online portals compromise on mandatory requirements to sell such medication. Scroll contacted 11 online suppliers across India for 2.5 mg Mounjaro injections. 7 agreed to sell the product without a prescription and provide free home delivery. GLP-1 drugs are a Schedule H drug, which means it requires a prescription to be sold and cannot be provided over the counter. Of the 7, only one supplier warned that it is better if you consult a doctor because there are contraindications of this drug. But even that supplier was willing to supply the drug without prescription. We also tried to buy Mounjaro without a prescription on 3 e-pharmacy portals, PharmEasy, TrueMeds and Tata 1mg. All offered to provide a free doctor consultation for a valid prescription to make the purchase. We said we had a body mass index of 27 with no comorbidities and no family history of illness when the doctors from the respective portals called. None asked us to submit a blood test report. According to CDSCO, a person with a body mass index of 27 with no comorbidity is not an eligible candidate for the treatment. TrueMeds and Tata 1mg refused to provide a prescription, saying that the BMI did not fit the eligibility criteria and advised us to instead start exercising to reduce our weight. But PharmEasy not only provided the prescription, it also sent a delivery boy with a 2.5 mg Mounjaro pen at our doorstep within hours. On the call with PharmEasy, the doctor asked our age, height, weight, any medical issues, family history of illness, and advised us on how to use the injection. The doctor did not ask for a thyroid or a blood test to check our markers. When we emailed PharmEasy asking about the lax standards on its portals, it stated PharmEasy has partnered with teleconsultation platforms who implement stringent processes which are compliant with applicable laws, including advisories issued by the regulatory authorities for prescription and dispensation of GLP-1 medicines. The ePharma portal added that the decision to prescribe the medicine rested with the doctor. It is clarified that neither PharmEasy nor its teleconsultation partners have the right or capability to influence or interfere with the RMP's independent clinical judgment during the course of teleconsultation through the PharmEasy platform, and the duty to prescribe medication pursuant to teleconsult is the sole and complete responsibility of the RMP, the portal said. At brick-and-mortar chemist shops too, the safeguards were absent. In Mumbai, we visited 10 chemist shops and 7 were willing to sell the injection without a prescription. One said that the drug was showing fast results with no side effects. Another said that the drug was in great demand. Ganesh Rokade, Joint Commissioner of Drugs in Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration, said they are aware of the sudden rise in sales of GLP-1 drugs and were worried about sales without valid prescriptions. Last year, we raided several places to curb illegal sales, he said.
In April, the Union Health Ministry in its release said that it had inspected 49 businesses across the country, including online pharmacy warehouses, drug wholesalers, retailers, and weight loss clinics to audit GLP-1 use. These inspections looked at violations related to unauthorized sale, improper prescriptions, and misleading marketing.
Notices have been issued to those found breaking the rules, the ministry said. A spokesperson for the ministry, however, declined to provide details of the number of notices issued or the action taken in each violation. We know the scale of the problem is huge, they said.
Reading Tabassum Barnagarwala, the image that sticks is a customer paying thousands of rupees at a local beauty salon for a serious hormone injection. She leaves you with a sharp sense of the danger that comes from treating a heavy-duty medical tool like a cosmetic quick fix. Bryan Walsh, up next, looks at that exact same cultural obsession with weight loss, but he takes it in a completely different direction. Where Barnagarwala focuses on the physical harm of handing out these drugs like beauty treatments, Walsh points out how that cosmetic hype is actually blinding people to the real story. He argues that focusing so intensely on waistlines means ignoring the fact that these medications are now treating everything from sleep apnea to kidney disease. Put the two together and a striking picture emerges. The cultural fixation on getting thin isn't just driving people to make dangerous choices at unregulated clinics. It is also drowning out the quieter, life-saving medical realities of what these drugs actually do to the human body.
Just last month, I marked my 25th year as a professional journalist, which I guess means my journalistic career is old enough to rent a car, no questions asked. Work in the news for that long, and you'll occasionally find yourself surprised by things you published in the past. Like, I had all but forgotten that I had written this Time magazine cover story in 2008. Ozempic is not just a weight loss story anymore. The real promise of GLP-1 drugs goes far beyond weight loss. A couple things here. One, as the cover demonstrates, journalistic sensitivity was less than ideal then, to say the least. And two, over a quarter century, occasionally covering obesity, both childhood and adult, that story only seemed to go in one direction. Worse. It wasn't for lack of trying. We put calorie counts on menus, taxed soda, well, in some places, built workplace wellness programs, and funded a small library of diet research. We deplored food deserts and promoted farmers markets. We told people again and again to eat less and move more. But the lines just kept going up. By the CDC's measured survey, the share of U.S. adults with obesity did not change meaningfully between 2013 and 2023. The age-adjusted obesity rate sat at 40.3%, while the age-adjusted severe obesity climbed from 7.7% to 9.7% over the same stretch. While the question of weight in America is inextricably tied to body image and moralizing, those numbers had a deadly effect. One demographic model estimated that obesity was associated with roughly 18% of deaths among Black and white Americans ages 40 to 85 between 1986 and 2006. From diabetes to kidney failure, heart disease to sleep apnea, obesity is the delivery system for other diseases. Which is what makes a Gallup report published in July so surprising. In Gallup's self-reported height and weight series, the U.S. adult obesity rate fell to 36.4%, down from a peak of 39.9% in 2022. Over roughly the same period, the share of adults who said they were currently taking a GLP-1 drug for weight loss rose from 3% in 2024 to 11% in 2026, approximately 29 million people. While this only shows correlation, not causation, and Gallup's self-reported measure should not be compared directly with the CDC's measured rate, the timing is suggestive, to say the least. And the weight might be the least interesting thing about these drugs. Semaglutide, the molecule sold as Ozempic and Wegovy, was first developed and approved as a treatment for type 2 diabetes, not obesity. It was only after earlier GLP-1 drugs and diabetes trials showed substantial effects on appetite and weight that researchers deliberately tested a higher dose for obesity, resulting in Wegovy in 2021. But as it turns out, the list of things that have been noticed happening on the side with GLP-1s has gotten so long it's begun to eclipse the main event. The coverage of GLP-1s has barely kept up with this news because weight loss is what made these drugs famous and what we continually obsess over. But it turns out weight loss may not be what they're best at. Side effects may include. Let's start with sleep apnea, which untreated drives up blood pressure, strains the heart, and raises the risk of stroke. These are people whose breathing stops dozens of times an hour, all night, every night. 2-year-long trials put 469 of them on tirzepatide, the drug sold as Mounjaro and Zepbound, and cut those interruptions by more than half.
Roughly half the group finished the year with no apnea at all, or with so little left that they stopped being tired all day. Then there are the kidneys. A major trial followed 3,533 people with type 2 diabetes and chronic kidney disease for a median of 3.4 years. Semaglutide reduced the relative risk of a composite of kidney failure, a sustained loss of at least half of kidney function, or death from kidney-related or cardiovascular causes by 24%. All-cause mortality was 20% lower. And the liver? A trial still underway biopsied the livers of 800 people whose organs had grown fatty, inflamed, and scarred, and randomly assigned them to semaglutide or a placebo. After 72 weeks, the inflammation had cleared in nearly 63% of those on the drug, with no worsening of the scarring, against 34% on placebo. And the knees. In 407 adults with obesity and moderate knee osteoarthritis, pain scores on the 0-100 WOMAC metric fell 41.7 points against 27.5 on placebo. And to top it off, a 17,604-person trial of participants who were overweight or obese but did not have diabetes found a 20% drop in major cardiovascular events. These results may not be as grabby as cultural debates over Ozempic face, but they deserve far more attention. Medicine's happy accidents. As GLP-1s, which in part came out of a hormone in Gila monster venom, demonstrate, medicine has long found some of its biggest wins in the margins of drugs ostensibly built to do something else entirely. Sildenafil, better known as Viagra, began life at Pfizer as a candidate treatment for the heart disease angina. It failed at that, and its now famous use turned up in data as a side effect in what must have been a very interesting trial for its subjects. Minoxidil, Rogaine, was a blood pressure pill that turned out to help patients grow hair. Finasteride, Propecia, was approved for enlarged prostates before anyone thought to sell it for baldness. And then a trial of more than 18,000 men found it cut prostate cancer diagnoses by about 25%, a benefit that took 20 years of follow-up to fully vindicate. Perhaps the most famous example is aspirin, which spent most of a century as a painkiller, before a doctor in California named Lawrence Craven noticed that the patients he'd given aspirin gum to after tonsillectomies bled more than they should. He guessed the aspirin thinned the blood and started handing it out to middle-aged men who were at higher risk of heart attacks. Craven died in 1957. The trial that ultimately proved that he was onto something, showing that aspirin in heart attack victims cut vascular deaths by a fifth, didn't run until 1988. The strange morality of Ozempic. Viewed this way, GLP-1s can seem like miracle drugs, but even miracle drugs can't cure everything. There had been great hope that GLP-1 might reduce dementia rates, but when Ozempic maker Novo Nordisk ran a proper trial, it didn't show evidence of slowing clinical progression of Alzheimer's. Much the same happened with cancer. Observational data had hinted that GLP-1 users developed tumors less often, but when a Harvard team pooled 48 placebo-controlled trials covering 94,245 people, they found the drugs have little to no effect on the risk of thyroid, breast, or kidney cancer, though evidence for other cancers was less certain, leading to FDA-boxed warnings. 1+. In some early animal studies, high doses of GLP-1 drugs caused thyroid tumors in rodents, but further research largely hasn't validated the fears that it could be more widespread, though uncertainty about some rare thyroid cancers remains. For many people, weight loss isn't the end of what these drugs seem able to do. It's where the benefits begin. The bigger concerns largely remain the known ones, starting with muscle loss. Across 22 randomized trials, about 25% of the weight lost on these drugs turns out to be lean muscle mass. Some of that is simply unavoidable in any weight loss, but too much can mean a great deal, especially if you're 75. And cost remains a barrier. In a 2025 KFF poll, 56% of adults who had ever used a GLP-1 said the drugs were difficult to afford. 27% said they had insurance but paid the full cost themselves. In a separate Cleveland Clinic chart review of 288 adults without diabetes who stopped injectable semaglutide or tirzepatide within a year, 47.6% stopped because of cost or insurance problems, compared with 14.6% because of side effects. The money, at least, is improving. An oral GLP-1 drug was approved in April, and it starts at $149 a month for people paying cash, while Medicare trial pricing of $50 a month for some GLP-1s went live in July. A stickier obstacle is the one that can't seem to be divorced from questions about weight: judgment. As my colleague Dylan Scott wrote recently, researchers at Rice University found that people rate a GLP-1 user more harshly than someone who never lost weight at all.
That makes perfect sense when you consider how contentious weight is in America, and none at all when you think about just how many people have benefited from these drugs in so many different ways. I sometimes wonder how we would view GLP-1s if they could do everything they've been shown to do, but somehow not change a person's appearance. So much of the discourse around these drugs has been shaped by the fact that many of the earliest and most public and apparent users were already thin people, often celebrities, using them to get even thinner. But that framing has become increasingly difficult to square with reality. Two things can be true at once. American culture has a toxic relationship to weight, and millions of Americans can and are benefiting from these drugs. For many people, weight loss isn't the end of what these drugs seem able to do. It's where the benefits begin. A version of this story originally appeared in the Good News newsletter. Sign up here.
What lingers is the image of that same clear liquid sitting in two very different rooms. Next to a salon chair, a syringe promises a thinner waist. Inside a clinical trial, it heals a failing kidney. The friction sits right there. A powerful medication is handed out like a spray tan, while its ability to treat sleep apnea gets buried under the noise of getting thin. When a medical breakthrough is permanently branded as a cosmetic luxury, who gets left waiting for an actual cure?